Today I want to talk about the characteristics of inelastic demand. First of all, let's take a look at what is elasticity. Elasticity is the sensitivity of the amount or quantity demanded based upon a price change. So if the price changes a little bit, does the quantity demanded change a lot, or does it stay relatively the same? So when it changes a lot, we call that very elastic. A product or a service can be very elastic. It's very sensitive to a price change. But what if a product does not have sensitivity to a price change? We call that inelastic. There are three characteristics of inelasticity. So let's take a look at the first one. We would say is necessity. Is the product something we have to have? An example of this would be insulin, where a person is diabetic, they've got to have the insulin. And if they don't have the insulin, then of course it's life-threatening. So if there's a small price change in insulin, it's not going to change whether they buy more of it or they buy less of it. So we would say that insulin is one of those products, as a necessity, is considered to be inelastic. The demand is inelastic. Another example would be gasoline. We use a certain amount of gasoline to go to work, to go to school, and we use about the same amount every week, every month, and so forth. So if the price goes up a little bit, it might reduce our travel just a little. But as a practical matter, we're still going to drive the same number of miles to go to school or to go to work. And we consider it a necessity because that's how we get places. So therefore, that's another example of necessity. So if the price goes up a dime a gallon, we're going to pay the dime a gallon. If it goes up 25 cents, we're going to pay the 25 cents. And if the price drops 10 or 25 cents a gallon, we're probably not going to add many more miles to our daily routine. So the first characteristic is a characteristic of inelastic demand is a necessity. The second characteristic is, are there few or no substitutes? If you drive a car that uses gasoline, what can you put in that car but gasoline? Now, if you got a flex fuel vehicle, that's a little different, but there aren't a lot of those on the road. So it's something that has few or no substitutes. If you're using insulin, there are few or no substitutes there. You either have to have it or you don't. So it's a necessity. There are few or no. You can't just change it out. There's nothing you can substitute it with. So if Thanksgiving is coming up and your family tradition is to have a Thanksgiving turkey, and the price changes a little bit on turkey one way or the other, is that going to change? You say, oh no, I think we'll have lamb chops this year. Or maybe we'll have a beef roast or some other product at Thanksgiving. If that's your family if your family tradition is a turkey, you're just going to pay a little bit more. Or if they're running a special, you'll pick up the turkey a little earlier. So few or no substitutes. The third characteristic is relatively inexpensive. Generally speaking, that means it's not worth your time to go shopping around to shave a little bit off. You're just going to buy it and say, oh, well, the price went up a little bit, but that's the way it is. I'll just buy it and we'll move on. I've got other things to do. My opportunity cost is too great to worry about a price change of something that's relatively inexpensive. So elasticity, how sensitive is the quantity demanded to a change in price? Inelastic demand means that a product with inelastic demands means it's not price sensitive. The seller is going to sell about the same amount, whether it's a high price or a low price or something in between, and the demand is going to be about the same, whether the prices fluctuate or not.